Another thing I just wanted to add is when we're sewing for 80s dolls, I tend to always have one right by my side so that I can, and usually one that's not in the greatest condition so that we can be dragging these clothes and trying new things on
It's
her.
like a mannequin, like
Just like a mannequin.
an old beaten
so if
one.
you have a gem with a loose waist or like a non-bending arm, it's great.
I have one that
has
has stains.
or really bad hair, something like that. That's a good one to use, hang on to for your model.
A rockin' crow with a big giant bun on the top, you know.
They're really useful to have her right there so that if Sean finishes leg warmer and wants to make sure it's going to make it over her leg, he can try
because
her on
sometimes
right now when he's making his prototype.
Sometimes when you're going for a while, you know, you go and check and you're like, oops, that's
I'm
off.
starting to go too narrow or whatever.
So then you can turn it inside out and kind of like just put another seam in.
The other thing I'm really anal about is thinking about your 80s dolls. You know, there's a finite quality number of 80s dolls, and they're starting to have issues. It's 30 years old, 25 to 30 years old, and now their popped shoulders so common. I do not like to make any garment that makes her have to do a weird position to get the thing on. I like to take those ball joints and put her straight up and drop something over her head.
The armpit bump.
Or she can stay with her arms relaxed. That's why when I do a halter top, I always make a closure at the neck, so she doesn't have to go like this to get in like a person would do. Because any of those weird arm movements that you wouldn't really do when posing her gently, it's a risk. I would hate to have somebody hurt their doll trying to get the garment on.
Yeah, or then you just can't get the arm to sit right in the lumps up here. And,
Yeah.
The t-shirt normally, something like that, you would have like a little bit of Velcro in the back. Like, but for the sake of the iron-ons, it wasn't plausible, so it had to be designed with the, yeah, it's kind of like
this.
it's almost like, I don't know,
She's wearing
a mango or a lemon or something, just to get over her head. But, so, and then I always do the t-shirts with the stretch sideways.
Yes.
So when you have two-way stretch, it's cheaper and you can find a lot more, but you want to make sure you have the stretch the right way, the way that you need it more. Just, these are the hard things you learn, but what do to start, I used like, you know, sometimes you'll go and they'll have like the really cheap colored t-shirts and stuff like that. I would use that to practice at first, or like instead of just starting to chop things up in your house.
I do the same. Sometimes you're making something new, go to your like, I'm about to throw this t-shirt away stash to try first. And sometimes that's the best place. Like I threw away a black t-shirt. How great, I can make a million black leggings from that one t-shirt. Some of the fabrics that I use, like if you see the Roxy I have in the vendor room, she has a collar that's like ribbed. It's supposed to look like a ribbed collar. I went to Old Navy when the tank tops were $3, and I bought $3 tank tops because the little tiny tank top ribs look like a big chunky rib in gem scale, you know? So
No, I've done
thinking about
that.
fabrics in a different way, sometimes, you know, you could be at the discount store and you're gonna find the fabric you need there. And it's not, you know, I'm in...
Once in a while at Walmart, you do luck out. But, I would be careful. I mean, use the genuine swimwear, like, you know, Lycra. Because they have, like, that similar poly stuff, but if you even pull it hard enough, it starts, you know what I mean? It's really, it frays at the ends. So even though this is a little pricier, it's like... It's that sturdy, like, basically it's like, well, I guess if it'll hold everything in place in a bathing suit, it's strong enough, right? You know? And then you have, like, Dura. But it's like, at least if you have to pay, like, $15 a yard or whatever for something, like, a yard will go so far in gem.
So far.
If a person, you could probably buy it cheaper in the rack right now at this point. But, oh, and also... always like when you're shopping for thread, I mean, do you do this too? I go to the store and I'll take like
the swatch.
I'll take like a swatch and like roll it up, put it in my pocket or something, and be pulling it out.
Right. If you're not shopping for all your materials at the same time, it's a great idea. Just have a swatch handy, because.
Or I've even stapled them to like a little card, like just.
True.
because
Anybody?
it
I
looks
think we're-
it looks different sometimes.
We're
And
wrapping it up, but do you want to speak? Does anybody have a question that we did not cover, or you wanted to? Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned when you're doing the leggings, for example, you stop the stitch and you leave a little end, right? You know what I'm talking about?
all right,
I can.
we have a few minutes. No, we have a few minutes for questions. Is what I got.
You stitch up the back and then you leave a little extra so that you don't have the knot at the end, right?
Oh, on the
For example, the leggings you just did. I mean, the leg warmers. Okay? But my worry is that when I'm pulling it up, it'll tear right there because I've got that extra little V of cloth. Do you understand?
Oh, I know what you mean.
'Cause I've done that on like, factory made stuff. It'll start ripping at the seam because you've got that little extra cloth.
Yeah, so what you can do is just, I know what you mean. You can opt to just go up to the end and just leave that little opening. That way you don't accidentally snip it. Like, see how there's like just a teeny bit there?
Yeah.
Because you want it, you want it to look
Of course.
close. I mean, like Synergy's leggings drive me nuts because they have this big, wide, but they had to or they wouldn't have gone on.
Mm-hmm.
But, thread, that's another thing. Yeah, do remnants. I mean, save yourself like a fortune. How much have you spent on materials that
Too
you
much
do
because
not?
I'm so specific, and I'm like, okay, it needs to be this
And
shiny
you're like-
this stretchy.
And you're like, oh, I better buy all 5 yards before it's out of like.
Exactly. Exactly. So it can get you crazy, and I'm in New York City, so the garment district is like at my disposal. But I could spend an arm and a leg, or I could, like I said, find like a ribbed tank top at the dollar store or whatever, or Old Navy's $3 tank top sale, and I've got a ribbed thing that's gonna look like a sweater on Jen.
Oh, and you know what I'll do is like, say the T-shirts or whatever. Like, when they're just so cheap, like the AC Moore, like when they have the sales, I'll get like the triple extra large because
Yes,
it's like
it's the same price.
then you're getting like you're actually getting like a couple of yards of material for like a much
Exactly.
cheaper price. So it's like,
Get your basics, your black and white.
and the thing is that
Things like
that T-shirt cotton could actually be used in finished fashions, and you can find it in
Totally.
any color. It just doesn't have the sheen of spandex.
But sometimes you don't need the sheen. It depends on.
Sometimes the
fashion.
sheen starts to get
It's
really
too
old.
much.
Like,
I mean, when it depends on the fashion, and you kind of are up to your own interpretation, thinking about what is this. If you're doing cartoon fashions, which is what I do, it's like think about if this was made for a person, what would it be made out of, and then scaling down. So if it's Gem in a gown, she would have some sheen or something like that that looks like a luxe, sexy fabric. But if she's wearing a hoodie, her like polka dot sweater thing, I think would be more of like a matte finished cotton.
yeah.
Like,